this process at a department called Planning and Development Department, which was centralizing the whole approach and the whole strategy from conception into implementation, but also in the third phase, which was the way of looking what we are doing and if we are doing in the best way.
Okay, it's amazing to see how municipalities from different places in the world are facing the same challenges and are actually using similar tools, but in very different ways. And this brings me directly to you, Dov, because we heard from two municipalities from the local level, and you're sort of in between government, or sort of government, and the municipality. And I'd really like to hear your perspective on these issues. First of all, on bringing together different silos, different departments, and from your very extended expertise, linking together well-being and resilience from a food security perspective. And then we'll hear Joy, because you're the last piece of the puzzle.
Well, it's quite challenging. I'm Dov Chernikovsky. I'm an economist. I'm professor of economics, and you will probably hear it in a moment. That's one thing, and I have really the privilege to chair the Israeli National Nutritional or Food Security Council, which is an advisory board. I would like to mention at the opening of my remarks that whatever has been said here is fascinating, really. And while Israel is a relatively affluent country and also small, which may reduce some of the logistic problems that were sort of implied here, we have some other problems that make us really appreciate some of the solutions that were presented here. First of all, I assume some of you went out to Israeli restaurants and you appreciate food prices in Israel are very high. I don't know if you experienced that. And that's a serious issue. Yeah, it's a serious issue. So any solution that can bring food closer to home, etc., especially to low-income groups, is really a major issue, challenge in Israel. And that goes without saying. We have another problem. In addition to rain and floods and ice, we have also missiles that come down and can break down the food supply chain lines, etc. And we had some experiences, bad experiences indeed, with elderly people. Now, to come back to your question, basically I would say, first of all, I take Barbara's the view that first of all we need knowledge. I think knowledge is critical to understand what to do. Knowledge is also very important to get some political consensus around these solutions. I think this is a critical issue. And one of the things that we find challenging in our work here in Israel is really to get a political consensus around the solutions that we get. You asked about different departments, local, central level, which way you want to really put it, you have this challenge. So that's an issue. Now, Rick, right? Did I get your name right? I'm sorry, Orly. Right. You presented the two objectives as competing. I'm not sure they're always competing, sort of resilience and well-being. I think that if a community feels resilient and has a right safety net, etc., I believe it contributes to its well-being and so on. But I can see the trade-offs the way you present them. And then here comes out my economist's sort of my DNA, so to speak, and we have a DNA of probably some of you know, and that is the art is of optimization. In other words, if we can get a political consensus, that's one thing. The other thing that I must say I found a little bit missing in the fascinating discussion, some of the issues that were presented, I'll definitely try to adopt for ourselves. However, what I found a little bit missing, and that may be key to a solution and to find this optimal path, is the sustainability of the solution. Okay, how much does it cost to get, something done? I believe it was Milan that had the gardens, one presentation around food, Turin, I'm sorry. Now, yeah, I know, that I know, but I wasn't sure. Anyhow, this is a solution, it's a wonderful solution. It would be unsustainable in Tel Aviv, okay? In other words, if I had to grow a tomato in Tel Aviv, it will be, in Tel Aviv, be the most expensive tomato in the world. It is, I'm sure of that. So we have to, I will summarize, we have to find...
I invite you to my balcony to eat the tomatoes.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the balconies, but for the sake of saving time, but still, it doesn't make it an inexpensive tomato. That's right, but still. But I believe the key is really, and I will summarize it to get a right solution, which is sort of a balanced solution based on knowledge, get the political consensus around it, and make sure that it is economically sustainable. Because I have unfortunately been involved, I did a lot of international work where we had these wonderful solutions, but they are not replicable. They are not replicable even in the same place over time because of the economic constraints. Thank you.
I want to open it up. I do have a lot to say, but I'm not going to.
That's the idea.
I thought you would, but I'm going to let Piero represent me in this discussion, but we'll hear from Joy first. Can you contain yourself for another round, Piero? Good.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. I'm here representing both the Ruach Foundation and also the ICLEI Ruach Foundation City Food Network. So another network. In this case, it's a network of cities sharing expertise, sharing practical applications, doing webinars together. So it's a very technical, practical exchange of ideas and practices. If anybody wants to join, it's open. I think there are currently 22 members and another 29 cities considering. So just have a look online, either through ICLEI or through the Ruach Foundation. So back to the question. There are so many examples from all over the world. I just wanted to come back to the slide that we saw in the Yokohama presentation, which had the boxes. So it was the self-help on one side, community help, and then the public sector. This is both a challenge and a solution in terms of bringing these things together. So I think what's most important is that we're building capacities at all that levels. So in the case of that slide that was talking about very emergency crisis, addressing the crisis situation in an emergency. But it's also the same model for looking at the longer term. So at a community level, it's about building capacity, which is about self-confidence, knowledge, skills, assets, whether it's land or gardens, knowledge of how to cook, working with the kids. It's all of those things, but building that community level capacity. At that communal level, it's about the networks of local organizations, because often you can't build that capacity in just one way. It's back to the network of organizations, those who work with schools, those who are addressing LD isolation, those who are addressing food crisis and hunger, all of those guys, people that are dealing with counseling for debts, money issues, all of those organizations need to join up to address the food. So personal, at that other community, communal level, and then of course the municipality level and what they can bring. It sounds great, it sounds easy, and it's really difficult to put into practice. Again, it's the long term. So I think that's the key message, and many cities around the world are trying to do that, and all of us, it's a step-by-step process. I think the other challenge I wanted to highlight, it's back to this knowledge issue, is the need for assessments and allowing that it's really difficult always to get facts. It might be easier in one place than another, but in my own city in Bristol, we just did a basic assessment of food insecurity in our city. So we've got a shocking statistic of 27% of our children going hungry. But where are those kids? Where are those families? It's really difficult to find them. And we attempted to look at which neighborhoods in the city are the most food insecure. And when you try to do that using statistics, it's tough. We looked at public health stats, so maybe where there's obesity or where there's cardiovascular, diabetes, whatever, food-related health issues. But we don't have statistics for missed meals, and we didn't manage to bring together the health with the social, with the economic stats to give us a really clear overview. So these are challenges, I think, at the municipality level around measures. Those are just two. There are many more.
We'll give you another chance in a second. So this is hopefully we'll have a chance for another round, but I'm not sure. So we're definitely going to use this one to put action items on the table. Because as we said before, it's a time to go from a concept to a call for action. And I'd like to challenge you to take your ideas, to take your experience, and put down on the table what do you think should be the next step for cities, for networks. What should we be doing tomorrow, and what should we be doing by 2020 or by 2025? And in case you don't have the list and you didn't prepare in advance, just use this opportunity. There are things we already wrote down. I mean, you talked about networking, you talked about knowledge, you talked about putting together things and putting it on the table and understanding the difference between the issues. So we'll start with Piero, and you can take this opportunity